When it comes to clutter-free living, it's all about making the decision. Do you want freedom or do you want variety? The Minimal Mom actually said that first, but it's something I've been thinking a lot too as I've downsized. It's like you naturally come to the place where you realize you can't necessarily have it all, and sometimes you need to decide between having freedom and having variety. If you have more belongings, more inventory, you might have more options, more different items to pick between. But by having more stuff, you're limiting your ability to go out into the world and to not think about your stuff, not spend time repairing your stuff, taking care of your stuff, putting stuff away, looking for stuff. By having more, you're gonna have to spend more time, energy, and money toward your stuff. So it really comes down to this decision when you're decluttering. Do I want this option or do I want my freedom? And it's true, there might be some areas in your life where you do want more variety. Maybe it's a very important area to you, or an area that you just like a lot of options. But there might also be areas where variety isn't as important to you, and where you can sacrifice some options for the sake of freedom. Sometimes also, when we keep things, it's not just that we're keeping it for variety, it's that we're keeping it for the promise of variety. The problem is, at the moment when you want one particular blouse or one particular sweater, if you have all the variety, all the options, it might be actually difficult to find that one piece you're looking for. We often can't access all of those options the moment we want them. And by having more, it's harder to access those options. Now, granted, there are some times where having more options gives you tools that are perfect for a particular situation. But sometimes there are other external factors that make you want that variety for reasons that aren't that important. And a lot of that comes down to social comparison. Ultimately, sometimes we want to have variety for the sake of status. I mean, if you think about wealthy people who have like a bunch of different cars, do they really need all those cars? Or is it because they're trying to communicate something about themselves to other people? An example for me, really random one, but why is it that I like having a mandolin in the kitchen? And granted, part of it is because it makes it easier to chop things finely, but if I'm honest with myself, part of it might be that I like the idea of making a salad where something is cut so finely, it seems like it's created by a chef or something, and then when I have people over and I serve them a salad with finely chopped things, they might be impressed. Now, there might be situations where there's a mix of wanting variety because it might be helpful to you and also wanting variety because it might impress other people, where it's like not clear quite why you're keeping the variety. An example for me might be having several different winter boot options because I do like different options for different type of snow, different type of conditions, especially here in Minnesota where things can change a lot. But also maybe part of the reason why I want numerous boot options is because I want to have a variety in my outfits when I'm going out and about or hanging out with friends in wintertime. Similarly, sometimes I have multiple throw blankets because I like having different options for how weighted they are, how warm they are, but I also like to have options for when people come over and visit and they have specific preferences on what they like. So sometimes it's hard to disentangle the different motivations for why we want variety. But ultimately, this brings me back to the idea I brought up before, which is this promise of variety. Like, just because we have more options in our homes does not mean that we will actually use all those options. It might be more of an illusion. I remember I went to this nice wedding in the wintertime. It was a beautiful wedding of some close friends, and I purchased this faux fur jacket for it. And I was like, you know what, this is perfect. Anytime I go to a fancy event in the wintertime, this will be the perfect go-to jacket that I'll wear. But the reality was, it wasn't even warm enough for me to wear it on its own. Like, I needed an extra coat over it because this was a really cold day. And then on top of that, even though I had the idea that I would use it over and over again, I literally only used it that one time, waited a couple years, and then eventually decluttered it because I realized I was not going to use it again. How many times do I actually have a winter wedding or some kind of fancy winter event to go to? And even in those situations, do I really need that coat, or will I definitely reach for that jacket? Not necessarily. And it's also not just that we're sacrificing variety for freedom. It's like we're only sacrificing moments of variety. Quite often when variety comes into the picture, it's only like once a year or once every 6 months that we'd actually use the belonging. And ultimately, what it all comes back to is the question, do you want the freedom? Do you want to reduce the amount of time you spend organizing, cleaning, putting things away, looking for things in order to do other things in life that are more important to you? For me, with my multiple sclerosis diagnosis, I get so tired so quickly from simple physical activity, and cleaning and moving things around actually takes a lot of my energy for the day. And so for me, this is really about getting my freedom back, getting my life back. The question then becomes, how do we make that change? We take steps one day at a time, one declutter at a time, one decision at a time. I recently decluttered my garage, got rid of multiple carloads worth of stuff, which was also eye-opening to me that I had that much stuff. But once we did it, it felt so good. And now every time I drive my car into my stall and I have a bunch of space around the doors and it's not way overpacked and over tight, I just feel this sense of freedom and relaxation, and it's not staring at me, telling me, why haven't you decluttered me? All that stuff is now gone. And yes, could I have decluttered even more? Is it something maybe I want to come back to and declutter even more of? Maybe. But was it a massive step in the right direction? Yes. So I really think it's about these little steps, little choices we make along the way, about being willing to let go of a little more variety, or even just the illusion of variety, for the sake of our own freedom, our ability to explore our interests, have new experiences, spend time with the people we care about, and have more energy for what's important to us. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button. It's a great way to support the channel. And if you want to see more videos like this one, hit the subscribe button below. I have a lot of bingeable content on my channel, a backlog of videos on these types of topics, and I also am going to be continuing to come out with videos 2 times a week, so definitely don't hesitate to follow along if you're interested. Anyway, now these sounds of the yard work are getting so loud, so I'm going to stop it here, but thank you so much for spending this little bit of time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!